school have the opportunity to have some wall signage. And I would say that most schools have signs on the walls and they have monument signage. Right now, our code does not permit that in this zone. And the only remedy to that is a variance. Again, a variance process is pretty difficult, especially for signs. So there are a lot of other examples of things that are difficult. One thing that we struggle with, also with the sign code, are temporary signs. Temporary signs are different types of temporary signs. Let's just say it's difficult to administer the code, do it consistently, do it in a way that's considered fair and predictable by the public. Primarily those businesses, typically businesses that are wanting appropriate signage. So where we're at today, next steps, and these could change a little bit, but we are about to do a pretty thorough review of the draft code and compare it to the existing code. And I've already started to do some of that. I expect we will make revisions to the draft code. The draft code that we have, one of my concerns about it is it's very lengthy. It is very comprehensive. It's very detailed. But it's important that a code like that be easily understood and relatively simple to administer, and it's pretty lengthy, just very verbose. Another step is to analyze a variety of sign types and situations using the draft code and make revisions as needed. So just from a practical point of view, do the signs that we have approved in the past, how do those work with the sign regulations? Is it effective at preventing the signs that are the most obnoxious of signs? And then another step is to reconvene this previous committee or create a new committee. That committee, it was very important to them that the sign code be amended because they certainly recognize the problems with the sign code. And you will hear complaints if business owners have a hard time getting sign permits. It's not something someone wants to find out right before they're trying to open their business. It's difficult to open a business as it is. So it's important that that citizen committee, which is comprised mostly of business people, the Gardner Chamber's involved as well, be reconvened, and then we can provide you updates in the future. The process for a text amendment is to bring that back to Planning Commission, have the Planning Commission make a recommendation, and then that recommendation is forwarded to the governing body for a decision on the final amendment. I expect also that within the next few months we will be presenting this in a work session to the governing body as well, getting their input. And with that, I'll be happy to take questions, comments. This is really for you to think about and give us guidance or whatever you'd like to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments for staff? I think this is definitely something that would need to be looked at. I like the next steps. The other.
Do we have any kind of?
It does need work. Just as Mike was saying, it's hard to administer. It's hard for the business owners to interpret as well, and that causes confusion and anxiety for them. So this does need work. So I'm glad we're getting back to it.
Do we have any kind of loose timetable that we need to, not that we need to worry about, but that we need to kind of forecast these steps, or is it just kind of fluid? We just do it as we can, or?
I would say that this would take at least 4 months before, from now until the time it goes to the governing body for decision. And there are a lot of things that could affect that. But generally, if there's anything that affects it, it tends to draw it out and not shrink that timetable.
I guess I have a comment. Is any of this being brought up with the new community development plan as well? Like, is this being looked at with that as well? I mean, are we going to get are we going to get, community feedback from that we can then also bring to this committee as well?
I think potentially we could. Ideally, you would complete a comprehensive plan before you go out and write codes to implement the plan. From a practical point of view,
I guess
that's probably
my
15 months
question-
out, but during the I think to answer your question, if I might, will we get feedback that might inform this? Yeah, I think we could. We're going to have a business meeting for the comprehensive plan, business workshop, Friday morning. We'll have other opportunities for engaging the business community, and signs could be a topic of discussion. I think, one thing you constantly hear from business people is they'd like things to happen faster, they'd like fewer hassles, and so a lot of this is intended to address that.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Quick Trip had to go through the zoning variance on their signs as well, for their signage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and I also don't, I don't want to imply
Yeah,
that that's the only purpose of this, because I think that if that was the only purpose, then you just wouldn't have any sign regulations at all.
No.
You wouldn't issue permits. There's still design issues, community standards, externalities, with regard to signs to address through sign regulations.
I look forward to hearing the update.
Okay, thank you.
Can I address you on that topic? I served on,
Yes, please.
I served on that committee, and I can only tell you, he hit it right on the head. It was most cumbersome, complicated. I spent anywhere from 2 hours to 3 preparing for each one of those committee meetings, trying to go through and help rewrite or take away or talk about grandfathering. Extremely complicated just from my perspective as a business owner. And we tried to be fair. We talked about grandfathering. We spent many, many hours, and then it came to a halt. So you've got several of us that invested many hours in that. We would like to continue and give you input, but it has to be less complicated. And if you analyze and revise it, that'd be wonderful, because the person hired, their recommendations and their plan they brought to us needs to be streamlined. So, just my comments.
Great feedback. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Great feedback. Any other questions or comments? I look forward to an update. Thank you for the presentation. Having no other items.
Madam Chair?
Oh, yes.
I would like to, while we have the attorney present, since we did table this discussion, or table the special use permit application, I did have some questions for the attorney regarding his memo, and I just wanted to know if that's fine, if I could ask some questions of the attorney.
We moved past that.
Well, no, that's fine. I'm just asking, I just had some questions that I was curious to ask. I'm not discussing the special use permit, just some questions based off of his memo, if that's fine.
I'll look to the attorney for his recommendation on that, if that would be something better addressed just in an email, or if this would be better addressed in open forum. We've already went past that item. I understand this is just a question from one of the commissioners.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to him, talk to you individually. We can talk about it.
Okay. And that's fine?
That's acceptable? Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Barber, seconded by Lavella to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned.